Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. I do hope you are well, as ever, and getting the results with your team. My name is Matthew Haddock, and I'm here to help you through the world of management and leadership, give you some practical ideas and making sure you, as a leader and manager, get the best out of your team and, of course, enjoy your work. So what we're going to talk about today? Well, today we're going to be talking around the idea of traditional management versus coaching management, if I can say it right. And what do I mean by coaching management and all the things that go with it? So why the coaching model often fails, because you do speak to a lot of people and they say, I want to be a coaching manager. I don't want to be one of these traditional ones. I want to make sure my team are all on board. And then when it gets down to it, it fails. So what goes wrong? So why is traditional management versus coaching management still on the side of the traditional manager? We're going to explore what each one looks like in real life, the pros and cons of both, and maybe, most importantly, why the coaching model, despite it sounding the way of best practice, often fails in real workplaces. So hopefully grab yourself a brew, settle in, let's enjoy the show, whatever you're up to. Let's start with number one then, the idea of the meaning of traditional management. What do I mean by traditional management? Well, when I talk about traditional management, I'm talking about the style that's been around for decades. Think command and control, think hierarchy and direction. And it's that I'm the boss, you're the team, and here's what we need to do model. And it focuses on the idea of setting clear goals, it monitors performance, it corrects things when they're off track, and it makes those final decisions. So the manager makes the final decisions. I mean, there's a clear chain of command when you've got these models. There's a manager giving direction and the team executes. Now, before you throw the towel in and say, no, this doesn't work anymore, and before you throw it all under the bus, this approach does work in many settings. And of course, that can be hard to take because a lot of people think that, this old school command and control, it's only for this, it's only for that. Actually, it's around more than you think. Think of manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, or anywhere where safety, efficiency, and process control are critical. This style of management keeps things on track. So there's some pros to this style of management, and you should never kind of think that the traditional management, just because it's traditional and may be seen as being old and around forever, needs to be thrown out with the bathwater. The pros are, it gives you clarity. Everyone knows their role. It's got speed. The decisions are made quickly. You might not like a lot of the decisions, but they're made quickly. There can be accountability. The buck stops somewhere. When a boss gives direction, the buck stops with them. And I've said many times on this show that you are always going to be around that accountability as a leader. Responsibility, you can abdicate if you like and give to somebody else, but you can't get rid of this idea of accountability. But of course, there are some cons to this as well. It can stifle the idea of creativity. And that's what people really feel. It can feel very authoritarian. And I think the authority figures we see as being negative. And there can be someone at the top just making all the decisions, and that's not good for anybody else and the rest of the business. It also limits development because people just do what they're told, but not what they think. So it is simple, it is efficient, but it may not be very human. And I think that's what we miss these days. Everything we watch on the social medias, the films, show this idea of it being freedom and people and getting things done. And of course, we're all up for that on Manager Matt, but also there's a time where traditional comes into its play. So what happened to traditional, or what is happening around us, is this rise of a coaching manager. Now, they came along this coaching management style. This is where the manager steps back from telling and starts to do the asking. Instead of saying, here's what you need to do, they ask, what do you think would work here? And this focuses on empowering people, helping them to find their own solutions, developing their confidence, and taking ownership of the outcomes. And it's about listening more than talking. It's about guiding, not dictating, and it's about building trust and capability in the people around them. So there's some definite pros to this, some huge pros to this approach. It develops people faster. It means that it creates more engagement and motivation because people know that they're not just a cog in a machine, which could be seen under the older models, but you are actually someone who is making those decisions. And it builds problem solvers at every level, not just at the task doers. At every level, you've got someone who can go and make those things happen. And it's the difference between giving someone this idea of a skill that they can take and think about, or just telling them what to do. And that's the difference in these two models. And in the world we are constantly changing, the innovation and adaptation is important. Then a coaching model feels perfect. So why does it fall flat? Why is it not developed more? Or why do we say it's going to happen and then it becomes so hard for managers to change and they soon slip back to telling people? Now, just to caveat that, there is a time when you need to tell people what to do. Even if you're in a coaching model, you have to tell someone, go get that done because it's really important. It could be life and death. Then you need to do it. If there's a fire alarm going off or a fire, you don't want to debate about it. You need to get out of the building. So think of it that way around. So why does coaching models fail in the real world at this minute? Let's be honest, most companies love talking about it. They talk about the coaching, but when it comes to it, very few actually live it. And there's a few reasons why, and I think you probably can guess some of these, but let's just run through, I think, the 5 big areas that really do affect the idea of people coaching or stop people really developing coaching to its full potential. Time pressures. Coaching does take time. It's asking questions. It's developing skills. It's letting people reflect. And it's not just a 5-minute chat. It's a fast-paced environment. Sometimes that means where managers feel that the pressure's on them and they don't have the confidence maybe to really kind of step away and go, okay, it's going to take a little bit longer to make this decision because I am going to take the time to develop my team to make it. What they do is they fall back into, it's easy for me just to go and do it. And the number of people I've spoke to about when we talk about developing people, teams, new members even, it's easy for them to do it. By the time I've taught someone, I can do it myself. Well, what they're missing there is that you'll always end up doing it if you don't show them how to do it properly or don't give them the time. So first thing that stops the coaching model, it's time pressures, and you know how busy you are. So you have to be able to allow time to do that. It's lack of training. Most managers are promoted because they're good at the job and not because they're good at developing people. So when someone says, be a coach now, they think of it as, oh, that'll be nice. I'll ask a few questions. But effective coaching takes skills. It takes listening, questioning, feedback, empathy. And most managers never quite get taught how to do that. And that's where they're missing. And that's where a lot of the time developing a skill needs the time, and it also needs the person who is developing it to understand how it's important to do it. Should we promote people for being the best worker? Well, you can question that till the cows come home. A lot of good people have been promoted and they do well. There's lots who get promoted and unfortunately fail because they're never given the time or the lack of training. So second one on this, why coaching fails, it's the lack of training, the lack of training. Third one, the pressure for results. A little bit like the time pressures, senior leaders are still judging managers on short-term outputs, KPI numbers, performance today. Coaching is about tomorrow's performance. So when the pressure is on, what does the manager do? Revert back to just getting it done. And the pressure needs to be there in a certain point because, we are competing. We can't get away from the fact that your business or your whatever you're running is going to be competing with others. And if you decide that, I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to spend 6 months now just coaching, we're not going to make any decisions and we're not going to make anything, then guess what? Within about 3 months, you're not going to be there as a business. So you've got to have some pressure, but you've also got to be able to know how, if you want to make coaching work and get that future right, you've got to take the time to do it and take the pressure off. And that sometimes is knowing it, sometimes it's going to fail. Being able to put your hand up and say that failed because this went wrong, because we were doing this model and we're not going to throw it out and go, no, we're not doing it. We're just going to spend a bit more time learning how to do it. Fourth one on my list of 5 things why coaching models fail is the idea of team readiness. Not every team is ready to be coached. If people lack that basic skill or confidence, asking them, what do you think, just creates confusion and frustration, especially if you've never done it before. especially if you just throw it out there. All of a sudden you've been directing, coaching, has never been done. You're telling people what to do. You've got it out there and they come to you for questions. Then all of a sudden you turn around and go, well, what do you think? I'm not going to make any decisions. Well, it's going to blow people's minds if they're not ready. Sometimes people need directions firstly, then they need the coaching after. So, make sure if you're going to do this modelling and you're going to move that way, that you're giving people time and you know that the team is ready for that. And certain individuals will be. Others, you're going to have to take a time. If they've done 30 years of being told what to do, then all of a sudden on Monday, you're just asking them what they think, it can cause some problems. And last on my list is cultural resistance. Let's face it, in some workplaces, being a coach manager is seen as being a soft manager. People expect the boss to decide and not facilitate, not to ask questions, just decide, make it happen. There you are, I'll go off and do it. Changing that culture takes time, it takes courage, and not everyone is up for that. But you've got to do it. If you really want to make coaching work, and as I said earlier, make it better for your future, you're going to change that culture. And culture is about how people do things around here. So you can change the culture, but it does take the time. So those are the 5 areas I think that's why it really fails. Now, let's look at that sweet spot. How do we blend the two? Here's the truth. It's not going to be an either or. The best managers are always a blend of the styles. They know when to direct, like in a crisis, as I mentioned, or when a safety or a compliance or something goes wrong, you need someone who's going to direct. And then they know when to coach, like someone's capability needs to advance, you need to give someone confidence, or when you want to build a long-term growth. I like to think of it as this leadership is a dial or a spectrum, as we like to say. It turns up and down depending on the situation of the person. If someone's new to the role, they'll need structure, clarity, instructions. If they've been doing it for years, they may need more autonomy, more challenge, more feedback. That's where the best managers shine. They're able to adapt and move between them when needed. So how do we actually make coaching work? What are the things you can do? What are the 5 areas that you can make a difference when it comes to it? Now, of course, they're going to be building on the 5 areas why it hasn't worked, but what you want to do is, so let's want to be a coaching manager. You want to be able to use this. So how do you make it stick? Well, these are a few practical tips I think can really help you. Start small. Don't try to be a life coach overnight. Pick 1 or 2 team members who are open to it and then practice the skills. Listen, ask them open questions, give them feedback. Secondly, use everyday moments. You don't need a formal session. Coaching can happen in a 5-minute chat after a meeting or walking around on the corridor. I've done that with people. When things have gone not so good or even good, pull them to one side. What? I think this has gone really well. You've shown some good initiative here. This is what I think you should do. Or actually, next time we're in that situation, have you thought about trying it this way? Or what do you think we could have done better? You can really do that. So what would you have done differently next time is a great question to ask someone. What went well in there? These are the questions that open up those everyday moments. Number 3 on my list, balance, support and challenge. Coaching isn't about being soft in any way. It's about helping people think of themselves differently. And sometimes that means holding up a mirror and asking them the tough questions. Look at all the sports teams. They are great coaches. That's what people say, coaching. They're making it happen. They're on the field. They're not doing the event. They might have done it in the past. They may not have. But they know how to set tactics. They know how to get the best out of the players. They coach them. So that's number 3. Number 4, keep accountability. Just because you're a coach doesn't mean you stop being the manager. As I've been mentioned before, that accountability is always going to be with you, even more when you're giving it away. If someone's underperforming, you still need to address it. Coaching doesn't replace accountability. It doesn't. It adds to it. It just gives you more depth because you're helping the person know why things have gone wrong. And of course, they would be putting their hands up and going, I've done this wrong. This needs some support. Last one, be consistent. If you're going to do this, don't dip in and out. If one day you are going to be the boss barking orders and then the next day you're trying to mentor people, it won't happen. You won't get the respect. People will not understand what's happening and it won't stick. If you want to make it stick, make coaching part of your normal leadership rhythm, the normal rituals of the day. So they're my 5. Small starts, everyday moments, balance, support and challenge. Keep accountability of the people and yourself and be consistent. So what's it all boiled down to? What's the conclusion of this? Well, traditional management and coaching management aren't enemies. They're tools like anything else. The problem is when you swing too far in one direction, whether it be too traditional or too coaching, then you can have problems. If you're too traditional, and you can crush initiative. If you're too coaching, you can lose direction and urgency. The best managers, the one who people really remember and are known, are the ones who can step in and out and know how to do the balance. So maybe the question isn't which is best. Maybe it's how can I blend both to get the best from the people and their performance. That's what real leadership looks like, isn't it? As I said at the beginning, hope you're getting results with and through your people. So adapting your style to break the best out of others is the best thing you can do. Well, as before, thank you so much for listening to the show. If you'd like to share it, send it, move it, do whatever you do on the old internet, that'd be brilliant. If you'd enjoyed the episode, have listened to the many other episodes I've done, please share it on to some people who would really benefit from this, because I think it's important we do spread this message. And of course, if you've got any feedback on the show, please send it to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or put a comment wherever you're listening to this podcast. Well, that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.